everyone. Welcome to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at what if, and we're looking at two different questions today because the first one is pretty short, soulmates, and that question is, what if everyone only had one soulmate in the world? And the second question is laser pointers. What if everyone in the world had a laser pointer and they shined it at the moon all at the same time? What would happen? And so, going to the first one, soulmates, we see that, oh my goodness, that would be a nightmare. That would be terrible if only one person could fulfill you or bring you happiness in life or whatever. And it would cause all sorts of different problems. The first problem is, when does your soulmate appear? Does your soulmate appear at the same time you were born? Did they appear 1,000 years ago? Will they appear 1,000 years later? When is the soulmate gonna arrive? And there's also, how old is your soulmate? Man, if you're 30 and your soulmate is just born, when they're 30, you'll be 60. And then maybe you can get married, right? I mean, there's all sorts of questions. But the author said, let's just say, hey, your soulmate is born around the same time you are. Okay. Well, how would you find each other? There are, I think, about 8 billion people in the world. So you would just have to love at first sight kind of thing. Your soulmate, we found each other. So in that case, what would that be like? How would you find each other? Would you go to large cities and just look around and try to look in people's faces? Do you want a job where you're like a cashier at a department store where you can see a lot of people and make money? Yes, like, should people sit on a conveyor belt and just stand in a line and just look at people? Technology. Could you just look at a bunch of pictures with webcams? Bling, 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 bling. And just see 1,000 people in an hour or something. Finding each other would be really hard. In fact, so hard, almost no one would find their soulmate. And so, it would be pretty lonely. If we spent a lot of time looking around at other people to try to find our soulmate, we probably wouldn't have enough time to make a living. So only the rich people could probably really spend the time to look around and find a soulmate. But then those rich people, their soulmate is probably people working. So they wouldn't find their soulmate either. And maybe 1% of those 1% at the top would find their soulmate. So it would be a pretty lonely world. And eventually, the author thinks people would start to lie and say, oh yes, we found each other. We found our soulmate. Look at us. We have soulmates. And then they would act really in love. But at home, they would know, oh my goodness, we're not soulmates. And things would be really bad and society would get really weird. And that's kind of how that one ends. So it would be a nightmare. The next question, moons. Okay, so the simple answer is nothing would happen. Okay, nothing would happen to the moon. If we shine all our lights, there'd be no effect. But let's just imagine if we looked at a quarter moon. So half of it is in the light, half of it is in the dark. Okay, we all shine our lights. Nothing happens. Okay. That's what happens. Nothing, even if we all get to the same spot. But what if we had more power? And so the author just goes through these different scenarios of more power, more power, more power. First one, if we had more powerful lights that could actually burn your skin and blind you, and we all shined them, nothing. If we had a night sun, that's the flashlights that like police officers use from their helicopters, and we shined it, nothing. What if we used an IMAX? Where did the IMAX come from? Maybe the IMAX is well known from the helicopters. And this night sun is the one from the police cars. Okay, I'm not sure. But we got more powerful. Nothing would happen. Okay. There's these hotel, and I think in Las Vegas, there's one spotlight that is the most powerful in the world. What if we use that one, the Lexor beam, and everyone had one? Boom. Little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Well, what if we use the megawatt? I actually can't remember what a megawatt is now, but I think it's some kind of laser, and we all aimed them at the moon. A little bit more. Not really that much. Okay, let's stop playing around. Let's get the strongest laser technology that we know, and what if we all had those? And that's from the National Ignition Facility, where they have this laser that goes bing, just like a little millisecond. It shoots out a laser, and they do experiments and things like that on it. But what if we had a bunch of them, and we shot them at the moon? What would happen? We'd all die. We would shoot those lasers to the moon, and the moon would glow beautiful. Yeah, we did it. And then that light would shine back to the earth and vaporize everyone. So we'd all die. But what if the lasers still continued on? Well, that energy that we are shooting to the moon would actually give the moon enough power, as that energy starts kind of exploding on the moon's surface, to travel, to be a rocket ship. Sorry, you can't see it really there. To rocket the moon into freedom, and the moon would break Earth's gravity, and it would start floating around the sun. And two things would happen. One, it would come by maybe 100 years, maybe 1,000 years, maybe in a few months. It would come by the Earth and woo, slingshot out into outer space. Or it would come by and go woo, and crash and destroy the Earth and the moon. And that's what would happen if we all pointed lasers at the moon at the same time. Some vocabulary words here. So the first vocabulary word here we have is lock eyes, and that just means to your eyes meet each other, and maybe even stare at each other for a few seconds, or maybe half a second, and look away. That's locking eyes. Introverted means you don't really like to be around other people. Actually, introverted has a lot of different definitions. Usually we mean you don't like to be around people. You like to be alone. Extroverted, you like to be around other people. If you look at that word a little bit deeper, it could be like where you find your energy. If you're alone, you feel like you have more energy, but you still like to go out and be with people. But as you're with people, your energy goes down. Extrovert, they can be alone and they can be okay, but when they're alone, they get tired. But when they go with people, they get more energy. And so that's kind of another way to look at extrovert or introvert. But the author says he's introverted, so he doesn't want to go outside. So he's going to have a really hard time finding his soulmate. The next chapter about laser beams, the first one is a lux. Lux is a measurement of brightness. How bright is that flashlight or that laser? Illumination is the brightness, something giving off light. So if you shine a flashlight on my head will illuminate because it's so shiny and there's no hair there. If I shine a flashlight on your hair, you have hair, so your hair will suck in the light. So illuminate, giving off some light. Regolith is some like dirt or dust on rock, and so the surface of the moon has some regolith on it, maybe a rock powder or something like that. And if we shot the lasers, that rock powder would start to be destroyed if we use that really, really super powerful one and turn into fire and plasma and explode. Which leads to vaporized. Vaporized means break down into the smallest parts, really. So if someone shot me with a laser beam, all of my body would turn to dust. the smallest little bits of what my body is made of. And that would happen to the moon's, some parts of the moon's surface. They would vaporize. And the last one here, propulsion is the power or energy to move. So if you think of a rocket or an airplane, that power to push with energy, we call that propulsion. That leaves us with our discussion question here. And even though it's just a small part, I am a hopeless romantic at heart. I love to talk about love. What do you think is the best way to find your soulmate? If there is a soulmate, right, in life, in this imagination that the author has, what do you think would be the best way to find your soulmate, or for anyone to find his or her soulmate? And of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.